Markham, 2:0 a.m. It's raining, that kind of heavy, relentless rain that just blurs the windshield. The streetlights are hunting. A security camera captures a man entering a residential building. And the footage is, it's crystal clear. We're talking 4K resolution, high dynamic range. You can see the specific way he walks, this slight favoring limp in his left leg. You catch the tilt of his chin as he ducks under the awning. You even see this subtle, almost imperceptible tremor in his left hand as he reaches for the door. The timestamp is verified. The metadata is clean. Case closed, right? We have our guy.
In the old world, absolutely, yeah. That video is the smoking gun. It is the gold standard of evidence. You book him, you charge him, and you go home and sleep like a baby.
But here's the problem with dossier #36, which is the file we are diving into today. At that exact same second, 3 miles away, that same man is on a FaceTime call with his mother. He is totally dry. He is laughing. He's holding a glass of water, and you can see the warm light from his kitchen hitting his face just perfectly.
And that right there is the paradox we're facing. One of these men is a lie. But the real tragedy isn't that the lie exists. It's that a jury or a judge or even, a seasoned forensic analyst can no longer tell the difference between the pulse and the pixel.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are opening a file that, frankly, it terrified me while I was prepping. We're calling it the Silicon Alibi. We're looking at a stack of sources that ranges from this investigative dossier on a new kind of criminal to FBI bulletins, banking fraud reports from Vietnam, and research from the MIT Media Lab.
And the mission here is to understand a fundamental shift in reality. We aren't just talking about deepfakes in the funny celebrity video sense. We're talking about something the dossier calls digital non-existence. We're talking about the complete death of witness credibility.
It sounds like a noir film, but this is actually happening. We're exploring this idea of the ghost in the machine. The premise is that criminals aren't hiding in the shadows anymore. They're, outsourcing their existence to algorithms.
That's the core of it. And to really understand how they do it, we have to look at the weapon itself. We have to deconstruct the technology of erasure.
Right. So let's unpack this. The core technology mentioned in our sources, especially in that banking fraud report, is something called GANs, Generative Adversarial Networks. Now, I've heard the term, and it sounds like total sci-fi jargon, but we need to really get this. How does a GAN actually build a reality? Because my understanding was it's just a computer copying a picture.
It's so much more aggressive than just copying. Think of it less like a computer program and more like a competitive sport. Or even better, imagine an art forger and an art detective locked in a basement together. A GAN has two parts. Two neural networks. You have the generator and the discriminator.
Okay, I like the forger analogy.
Yeah.
So the generator is the criminal artist.
Exactly. The generator's only job is to create fake data, a face, a voice, a video. It tries to make it look as real as possible. Then you have the discriminator. Its job is to spot the fake. It looks at the creation and says, nope, that's not right. The lighting's off, or the skin texture is way too smooth.
So they're just fighting each other.
It's constant warfare. And here's where it gets really interesting and, dangerous. They learn from each other. Every time the discriminator spots a fake, it tells the generator why it got caught. It says, hey, you messed up the shadow on the nose, or human eyes don't reflect light that way. The generator takes that feedback, fixes it, and tries again.
So it's not just trying random things. It's like it's getting a grade, studying the corrections, and then taking the test again.
Millions of times per second. It's this automated feedback loop of, weaponized evolution. Eventually, the generator creates something so perfect that the discriminator, and by extension the human eye, cannot tell the difference. The detective in the basement finally looks at the forgery and says, this is real.
And in the context of dossier #36, the one we started with, the subject didn't just use this to make a funny video. The source says he used a custom gene to simulate a 45-minute social window.
And that's the chilling part. He didn't clean up blood at a crime scene. He didn't wear gloves. And this is a quote, he rewrote the clock.
How pickly.
He created a digital alibi where he was visibly, audibly present somewhere else for a full 45 minutes.
So he deleted the time where the crime happened.
He deleted the possibility of him even being a suspect.
Yeah.
This is what the dossier calls malignant intellectualism. We've moved from the sociopath next door to the architect in the cloud. The goal isn't just to victimize someone, it's to delete the evidence that they or the crime ever existed as a variable.
That is heavy. I mean, that feels existential. But I want to ground this for a second, because while rewriting the clock sounds high concept, like something a supervillain does, the sources show this is hitting regular people. Right now, we have alerts from the FTC and these banking reports from Vietnam that show it's coming for your grandparents.
The grandparent scam has always existed, right? Someone calls pretending to be in trouble, but AI has turned it into a precision weapon.
Right. The FTC source talks about voice cloning, and I think a lot of people, myself included, assume you need like hours of high-quality audio to do that. Like you need them to sit in a booth and read a dictionary for the AI to learn.
That was true maybe 3 years ago. Not anymore. Now we're talking about seconds. 3 to 5 seconds of audio captured from an Instagram story or a TikTok video is often enough. The AI analyzes the pitch, the cadence, the unique vocal tremors.
So the scenario is, you get a call, it's your grandson, he's panicked, he's in jail, he needs bail money, wired immediately.
And this is where our own biology works against us. Evolution has wired us to trust our senses. If we hear a loved one in distress, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, just hijacks everything. We don't stop to think, is this a GAN? We think, that's my grandson, he's hurt, I have to help.
And the scammers are counting on that. They exploit that whole, if I hear them, they must be real bias. I mean, if I heard my mom crying on the phone, I'm not asking for credentials. I'm asking where to send the money.
Which is exactly why it works so well. But it's not just grandmas getting fleeced. The Vietnam banking source details a case in Hong Kong that it honestly blew my mind. This wasn't a few $1,000s. This was 25 million.
The Deepfake CFO case. This is the corporate version of the nightmare.
It is a perfect corporate version.
So walk us through this, because usually if you get a suspicious email from your boss asking for money, corporate training tells you to verify it. Call them on video, right? That's supposed to be the gold standard. Verify the face.
And that's exactly what this employee did. He was suspicious of a message from the UK-based CFO, so he did everything right. He joins a video conference call to verify the request.
Smart move. Or what used to be a smart move.
He logs in, he sees the CFO, but he also sees other colleagues he knows. They're all there, they're nodding, they're discussing the transaction, they look real, they sound real, they're even reacting to each other.
Wait, so it wasn't just like a pre-recorded video playing on a loop?
No, it was fully interactive, but here's the twist. Everyone on that call, except for the victim, was a deep fake.
That's terrifying. It's like a digital seance. He was in a meeting room with ghosts.
He was the only human in the loop. The employee's skepticism was completely dismantled because his own eyes were telling him, I am looking at these people. He transferred the $25 million because the social proof was just overwhelming.
It's like the ultimate gaslighting. If 5 people in a room tell you the sky is green, you start to doubt your own eyes. But here the people aren't even people. They're just pixels arranged by a thief.
And the source mentioned something else, something called digital necromancy or ghost scams.
This connects to the banking fraud reports. So, criminals are using deepfakes to take over the accounts of people who have died.
Think about it, the verification process for most banks now. Sometimes it's a selfie video or voice verification. If you can animate a face and clone a voice, death is no longer a barrier to identity verification.
So the dead can literally verify their own identity to claim pensions or take out new loans.
It creates this zombie identity that continues to transact long after the person is gone. It forces us to ask, what is proof of life anymore? If I see a video of you holding today's newspaper, does that actually prove you're alive?
My gut says yes, but all of this research says absolutely not. Which leads us directly to the collapse of the legal system, or what the dossier calls the plot hole. We have this FBI law enforcement bulletin from 2011 in our stack, and reading it, it felt like reading a history book from a different civilization.
It really does highlight the contrast. Back in 2011, the FBI was worried about chain of custody. They were worried about whether the batteries scanned on a radiation detector or if the date and time settings on a digital camera were accurate.
It was all about preserving the file, right? Making sure the file itself wasn't corrupted or lost.
Exactly. The concern was the container. Think of it like a plastic evidence bag. The police just needed to make sure the bag didn't have a hole in it. The assumption was that if the file is intact, the event inside the file is real.
But now, that logic just doesn't hold up at all.
Now, in the era of the Silicon Alibi, the file is perfect. The metadata is pristine, the resolution is 4K, the bag is brand new. The problem isn't that the file was corrupted, the problem is that the event itself was fabricated from nothing.
So the old protocols are basically obsolete.
They're fighting a ghost with a net. The legal system relies on 2 pillars, the eyewitness account and the digital ICCTV phone video. If a defendant can create a perfect digital alibi, the concept of beyond a reasonable doubt becomes impossible to reach. If any video could be fake, then no video is proof of anything.
The system doesn't just fail, it collapses. And the dossier mentions this. This dissociative God complex is like these criminals see the world as a video game editor.
It's a profound psychological shift. To the modern digital criminal, you aren't a person. You're a data point, a variable. If you're inconvenient, they don't just hurt you, they edit you out. They delete your credibility, or they insert you into situations that never happened. It's that phrase again, proactive erasure.
Okay, I am thoroughly and sufficiently freaked out. The existential dread is definitely setting in. But we have to pivot to the how to fight back section. We can't just leave people hopeless. We have sources from the MIT Media Lab and the FTC that suggest there are ways to spot these ghosts.
We do, but we have to change how we look at screens. We have to treat every single interaction like a Turing test for reality. Since we can't trust our gut anymore, we have to look for what they call artifacts. The MIT research points out that while GANs are good, they really struggle with physics.
Okay, let's break down the checklist. What are we looking for? If I'm on a call, what's the tell?
First, look at the eyes. Blinking is a big one. Early deepfakes didn't blink at all, they just had this dead stare. Now they do, but sometimes it's too much, or it's too rhythmic. It doesn't feel organic, it feels like a metronome.
And the glasses. The MIT source specifically calls out glasses.
Physics is hard to fake, and lighting is really hard to simulate perfectly on moving glass. Watch for the glare. If the person turns their head, does the glare move correctly? Does it reflect the room? Deep fakes often fail there. The glare might stay static while the head moves, almost like it's painted on.
What about the skin?
Look for the airbrush effect. Often the skin on the face is just too smooth compared to the hair or the neck. The GAN optimizes the face to look perfect, like a magazine cover, but it forgets to age the skin to match the person's hands or hair. It's that incongruence you look for.
So we have to become forensic analysts for our own video calls. But for the grandma scam, the voice cloning, you can't see the glare on the glasses, you can't see the blinking. What's the defense there?
The FTC suggests a really low-tech solution that is surprisingly effective, the safe word.
Like a secret password just for your family.
A challenge question. If you get that panicked call from your grandson, you have to find a way to bypass that amygdala hijack. You ask, what was the dog we had when you were 6? Or what's that weird nickname we have for Uncle Bob?
But the source notes that scammers often harvest info from social media. So if I ask, what's your mom's maiden name? That's probably on Facebook somewhere.
It has to be specific, nonsensical, or totally offline knowledge. Something that doesn't exist in the data cloud.
It's a bit tragic though, isn't it? That we have to treat a call from a crying family member like a hostile negotiation. I know you're in jail, honey, and you're terrified, but first, what's the code word?
It is tragic. It's a loss of innocence. But in a world where presence can be weaponized, skepticism is really the only armor we have.
So bringing this all the way back to where we started, dossier #36, the man entering the building and the man on the FaceTime call.
The haunting conclusion of that dossier is that the subject is still out there. He proved that he could escape the entire concept of being a suspect. He didn't just beat the charge, he beat the logic of the investigation itself.
And the question the dossier asks, and I guess the one I want to ask you listening right now is, how many verified lives are currently being lived by a machine?
Every video you see on your feed, every voice note, every Zoom call, ultimately it's all just a sequence of zeros and ones. And if those zeros and ones can be arranged by an algorithm, then truth is just another variable that can be edited.
The dossier even suggests the criminal might be listening to this very deep dive, checking for bugs in his next alibi.
It's possible. The test is just beginning.
That is a terrifying thought to leave us with. Trust nothing. Verify everything. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Stay sharp.
But the darkness remains. Your next dossier is ready, and it's even more disturbing than this one. Click here to open it.